The generally accepted scientific explanation of the wide variety of different species of animals, including the human species, is the biological theory of evolution by natural selection. So this is a naturalistic view of the human being, and thereby important regarding the existential questions of what we fundamentally are and what place we hold in the world. In this video, I'll present the key aspects of the theory of evolution and outline the evolutionary history of life. I'll then briefly discuss some criticisms of Darwin's theory, as well as the implications of both the theory and its critiques in terms of existential relevance and the question of the nature of reality. The theory of evolution was, in its basic form, developed by Charles Darwin in the second half of the 19th century. At the time, the common view of nature was that it was unchanging. It simply was the way it was, created so by God. On a mapping expedition, Darwin visited the Galapagos Islands, an archipelago located west of South America. Due to the large distance to the continent, more than 500 miles, its fauna were completely isolated from the continental fauna. Darwin collected many specimens of species unique to the islands, among others 12 different species of what was thought to be finches. Notable because on the entire continent of South America only a single species of finch has been discovered. These species varied in size and greatly in beak shape, each specialized to access different food sources. Some could pinch holes in cactus fruit and access the pulp inside, while others ate insect larvae and so on. This discovery, as well as the claim of Thomas Malthus that a human population would double itself every 25 years, unless kept in check by a lack of food, laid the ground for the concept of natural selection. Only the individuals best suited to survive in a given environment would, on average, survive long enough to pass on their specific variations to a new generation. Survival of the fittest. Favorable variations would thus tend to be preserved, while unfavorable ones would not, and this would, in time, lead to the formation of new species. Thus, nature was not stable and unchanging, but on the contrary, all the different species were a result of a slow evolutionary process. Thus, according to Darwin's theory, the two main basic principles driving evolution forward are variations between individuals, such as genetic mutations in the modern version of the theory, and natural selection. For example, imagine a litter of young rabbits where one of the young, by random mutation, can run slightly faster than the other young. When the rabbits try to escape the hungry wolf, the faster young has a, perhaps only slightly, greater chance of escaping than the rest. Thus, the individuals possessing advantageous variations will have a greater chance to survive and reproduce, and thereby, on average, the advantageous variations will carry over to the next generation and slightly alter it compared to the previous generation. Over billions of individuals and hundreds of millions of years, this mechanism has led to the evolution of all the multitude of diverse species populating the Earth, present or extinct. The first signs of life date back 3.5 to 4 billion years in the form of water-dwelling bacteria and other single-celled microorganisms. Only after a further 2 billion years, 2,000 million years, does multicellular life appear. At this point, the cells began specializing in performing specific functions, digestion, movement, reproduction, and so on. While single-celled organisms reproduced by cell division, sexual reproduction in virtue of male and female reproductive cells now became available, greatly increasing the variation in offspring. Just as sexes were now introduced, so was bodily death due to old age. Only the reproductive cells survived to the next generation. About 500 million years ago, the so-called Cambrian explosion happened. An explosion of life in new and complex variants such as the widespread trilobites. The development of nerve cells leads to the emergence of brains and to the phenomenon of pain. Very unpleasant feeling pain is, but a strong motivator for avoiding dangerous situations and thus evolutionary very helpful, precisely because of its unpleasantness. The emergent ability to differentiate between light and darkness led to the development of the eye, another very advantageous improvement, allowing the organism to discern food from danger from a distance instead of having to get close enough to touch. During the following tens of millions of years, fish emerged and dominated the seas. The first sharks can be traced back as far as 420 million years. Already plants had spread from the oceans to the land, adapting to the new circumstances, and slowly the animals followed. First insects and then amphibians. Rainforests covered large parts of the land, and when the forests died, they decayed and eventually became coal beds, providing the name of this period, Carboniferous. Two major groups of animals appeared, the forefathers to what would later become mammals and dinosaurs. The latter dominated the Earth during the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, with some of them growing to enormous proportions and readily adopted by pop culture. Devastating mass extinction events have happened several times during the history of evolution, sometimes eliminating more than 90% of all species. 66 million years ago, such an event hit and the dinosaurs became extinct. Only birds, an evolved form of theropod dinosaurs, survived. This made room for the mammals, which flourished in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, from small rodents to massive beasts. Among the mammals were early primates living in the trees, the ancestors of humans. A number of traits possessed by the human species can be traced back to these primates, as they provided advantages in natural selection even then. These include a hand with 5 fingers, just as hooves match life on the plains, hands and fingers match life in the branches. Fingerprints, small ridges in the skin provide friction and thus a better grip. Damp hands when becoming nervous, again improved grip when fleeing predators. Forward-facing eyes, allowing the insect-eating primates to perceive depth in order to grab its prey, as is common for predators. This is different from herbivores, which usually have sideways-facing eyes, allowing them a wide field of vision to detect approaching predators. The downside of primates' forward-facing eyes is precisely the reduced field of vision. This disadvantage is offset by them being gregarious animals. A group of primates all looking in different directions can make up for the limited visual field of each individual member. This and other cooperative behaviors are also exhibited by humans. The primates later evolved into fruit eaters, which led to the development of the sweet tooth, the inclination to eat sugary food for its high energy concentration, originally in the form of fruit sugar. Of course, for modern humans, this has extended to all kinds of sweets in both solid and liquid form, and entire industries producing sugary foods. Since a diet of fruit requires a great deal of movement from place to place, instead of having a litter of multiple offspring, having a single offspring at a time, which could be carried around, was advantageous. This, on the other hand, meant that it was essential that this single offspring survived, leading to very attentive infant care. This is the case for the human baby too. The primates grew bigger, lost their tails, and gained movable shoulder and wrist joints. But about 6 million years ago, the climate changed dramatically, and the rainforests where they lived disappeared and were replaced by savanna grassland. Our human predecessors evolved with the change, becoming bipedal and walking erect. While this comes with great advantages, it also has its drawbacks. Many people suffer from back problems today. The evolution from four-leg to upright walk is a very slow process. Indeed, it's not quite finished. The human spine has further evolving to do before it's optimal for our upright stance. And this is a cause of some back problems. Also, as opposed to most animals, as evidenced by the labors, giving birth is very painful for humans. The human pelvis has to be very strong in order to support the weight of the entire upper body. This, in combination with the baby's head being as fully grown as possible before birth, leads to very little room for the baby's passage. A great benefit of erect stature, however, is the freeing of the hands for other uses. In combination with an increase in brain size and thereby intelligence, this allowed our ancestors to make and use tools. From there, the road to Homo sapiens, the modern human, was set. So in this way, the evolution of life, of countless species through hundreds of millions of years, has proceeded. From single-celled to multi-celled organisms, and on through the ages of fish, amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, and birds, and mammals, now humankind. This evolution was driven by the two core principles of the theory of evolution: variation and natural selection. Darwin published his theory in Origin of Species in 1859, and later he expanded it to also include the human species in The Descent of Man. This view of nature, including humanity, has interesting existential implications. It defines the human being as merely an advanced animal whose very existence is due to evolutionary randomness and natural selection. And this view of the human being caused great controversy. No longer was man unique, holding a special place in the eyes of God. Instead, he was just another result of the ongoing processes of nature. In principle, no different from any other animal species. This means that, from an evolutionary perspective, a great many human traits can be explained in terms of the advantages they provide in the struggle for survival. These traits are naturally selected. If one takes a view of extreme or absolute evolutionism, then all traits can, in principle at least, be explained this way. Not only physical traits, but also psychological or social characteristics, such as group feeling, altruism, religion, etc. Even if one takes a less absolute view, the very idea that we are a product of random variation and natural selection means that there's no higher meaning to what we fundamentally are. Biologically, we are what we are simply because precisely those traits turned out to be advantageous in the environment our ancestors happened to find themselves in. The very core of the theory of evolution is the passing on of one's genes, and from that perspective, reproduction can be seen as the meaning of life. This can also provide a psychological meaning. That is, it can feel very meaningful to have and raise children. So in these senses, an understanding of who we are based on the theory of evolution is compatible with, might even provide existential meaning to life. An alternative view is that this understanding of meaning still seems somewhat lacking. After all, fundamentally, such meaning is based on evolutionary processes that are a product of the more or less random environment our forefathers lived in by chance. In this sense, it is a matter of psychological or subjective meaning, that is, an experience or feeling of meaningfulness. It is not, from this perspective, a meaning of life in a deeper sense, understood as a meaning that is not ultimately based on chance and random circumstances. So this understanding of what we are does have some significant existential implications. Although the theory of evolution by natural selection is widely accepted today, it has seen criticism on certain points, some of which is quite substantial, perhaps more substantial than what is often assumed. Especially when it comes to bigger evolutionary steps, the explanatory power of the theory has been questioned. A basic example illustrating this is the evolution of a forelimb into a wing. The evolution process happens very slowly, and it's hard to see how a middle stage between a regular and functioning limb and a fully developed functioning wing could provide any survival advantage. On the contrary, it seems quite disadvantageous to have an only partially developed wing, since it provides neither the benefit of a fully developed wing nor of a regular limb. Counter-arguments and further objections against this criticism have been presented, but it is outside the scope of this video to treat those. That will be done in a subsequent video. It turns out, though, that it does seem quite difficult to explain certain evolutionary steps by the mechanisms of random variation and natural selection. That is, by the biological theory of evolution. Thus, the theory has been subject to the criticism that it does not possess sufficient power to adequately explain the complexity of nature. Along similar lines, but perhaps more philosophically oriented, is the problem of explaining consciousness through evolutionary mechanisms. And not only consciousness in the sense of being an experiencing being, but also the evolution of reason in particular. What would be the survival advantage in a Stone Age environment to develop reason to the extent it has been developed, to the level where it can produce a theory of relativity and quantum physics? This is a part of a more general problem, how to explain consciousness at all within a naturalist or materialist framework. That is, if we assume that consciousness is somehow produced or generated by processes in the brain, how to explain how and why that could happen. This is a major, currently unsolved problem for modern philosophy. So, all in all, there seem to be quite substantive arguments against the theory of evolution by natural selection. This does not mean that it necessarily is wrong, but it does mean that it is perhaps not as carved in stone as is often assumed. The empirical evidence, fossils, of the evolution of life outlined previously seems quite clear. The question is whether the theory of evolution, as it currently stands, offers a sufficient explanation for the evidence. Arguments might turn up that provide adequate explanations within the framework of the current theory. Or the theory might turn out to need some adjustments to deliver satisfactory explanations. Perhaps some other yet undiscovered mechanism is in play besides the two currently incorporated in the theory. Okay, so the theory of evolution by natural selection provides a naturalistic and materialistic explanation of the evolution of life. It's a generally accepted scientific theory and matches the empirical findings to a significant degree. There are, however, shortcomings when it comes to its explanatory power, at least as things stand now, and it seems true that the theory is somewhat less well-grounded than what is perhaps often assumed. And perhaps that could be carried over to the metaphysical view that derives much of its support from this theory, namely metaphysical materialism, the view that the only thing that exists independently is the physical. And in that sense, the question of the explanatory power of the theory of evolution by natural selection is relevant in the greater context of the nature of reality and the meaning of life. Thanks.